Hello, human peoples. You're listening to the podcast network of Gamefully Unemployed. Support us and gain access to great exclusive podcasts like Fox Mulder is a Maniac, Tom and Jeff Watch Batman, Star Trek The Next Futurama, and our latest show, Spiel Boys. Head over to patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. We do game streaming, movie nights with our patrons every Friday night, and you can even commission your own podcast about anything you want. Literally anything, within reason, and we have to do it. You are quite frankly out of excuses not to go visit patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. That's patreon.com/GAMEFULLY unemployed, which is spelled like it sounds.
Hypecast mit Tom Reimann und David Bell.
Should we do vocal exercises?
Sure.
No.
Red leather, yellow leather, red leather, yellow leather.
Is that a vocal exercise?
Yeah. I mean, it can be.
Red leather, yellow. Oh, fuck.
See, it's a tongue twister. Red leather, red leather, amidst the
red
midst
leather,
and fiercest frost,
leather,
with stoutest boasts and barest wrist, she thrust a fist against the post and still insist she sees the ghost. This is
well,
shit.
You stole that from It.
Oh, is that from It? I don't even know. It's just shit that they would in high school. That's still cracking around my brain.
You ever take an improv class?
Oh, I was on my improv I was on my college improv team and I was in my high school improv team, dude.
Yeah, you were.
I was fucking into it and I am regretful. No, I mean, I met wonderful people. It's just a silly thing to do. Improv is a silly thing to do.
It is. I mean, it's what we're doing right now, right? This is technically improv.
Mm-hmm.
Someone shout out.
Yeah, give us
an occupation.
Yeah, or a place. Okay.
Sorry. Hi, everybody.
Hello, Dave.
Welcome to Hypecast,
Ooh!
the show where we get hyped about stuff and things. See, I'm not Tom. I can't just riff it like he can. But I am one of your hosts, David Bell.
And I'm filling in for Tom. I'm Abe Epperson. I can never truly fill the shoes of Tom. But hey, I was over at Dave's the other day. I was rifling through his trash, and he was like, "Hey, you want to do a podcast?" And I was like, "You know what? I can help you out, buddy." And so here I am.
Here you are. Mm-hmm. And Abe will be with us, I think, for a few weeks now.
Yeah.
Abe will be our permanent fill-in co-host, which means I will be seeking out guests. So Hypecast will be like 3 strong if I can help it.
So write in. You'll be a guest, right?
Yeah, that's how it works.
Just DM us.
Yeah.
I'm just going to destroy your fucking podcast empire from the inside.
But for now, you're a guest on this episode.
Okay, I won't be host.
It's like when Jon Stewart took over The Daily Show and Craig Kilborn had him as his last guest. You know. Mm-hmm. Except you're not replacing it like me.
No. You got to let it stew a little. You got to... You know, I got to get a little... Like, my flavor has to get on their tongues. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then they got to get it, and then they'll get used to it, and then before you know it, I'll be Tom.
I was thinking about this. People say we sound the same, which I think is a lie. But what if it does sound like just one guy talking to himself?
That would be
for
great.
This whole podcast to people. Yeah, I think so too.
Let's do that podcast.
All right. It's so much easier to do a podcast solo, right? That's what people like.
I mean, then you can write it down and stuff.
Yeah, people do that. It's wild.
It's great. I've done it too. I have a podcast that I write stuff down.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Which podcast? In fact, Abe, why don't you plug some stuff?
Good segue. Hey, if you like what you hear in this episode and opinions therein, especially from my yapper, I'm Abe Epperson. You can go to Small Beans, which is the name of the thing that I co-founded, which is much like Gamefully Unemployed, but it's over at patreon.com/smallbeans or search Small Beans wherever you find your podcasts, and you can listen to me and my good friend talk about movies and video games and stuff like that over there.
It's a delight.
Yeah.
Yeah. You'll hear my voice over there frequently.
Oh yeah.
I imagine people are aware of the small beans, but if they're not, check it out.
Check it out.
It's everywhere. It turns out that when you put out a podcast, I don't know if you've noticed this, like I find our podcast on networks, like services that I did not ask for. Mm-hmm. It just sort of like we're on Spotify, and at no point did I make an effort to put us on Spotify. It just gets absorbed
into the podverse. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. That's how a lot of these, I forget what they're even called, but like essentially aggregators like SoundCloud, they just like, I'm going to send it. Do you want...
Well, that's what's funny. This is a terrible conversation. Ours originates on SoundCloud. That's where we upload it. And then it just like goes everywhere.
Yeah. And I don't know, like Podchaser or some shit,
Yeah.
Podbean is one that I'm like, oh yeah, found us on Podbean.
It's so I'll get messages of people like, your podcast isn't working on Cast Donkey. Can you help us with that? And I'm like, I don't even know what that is, so I can't do shit.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. I can't do shit.
Yeah. Most of us, like I know you got techie experience. I got techie experience, right?
I'm a tech guy. Yeah.
Yeah. But what people don't realize, I think, is the Patreon age has caused a lot of people who are artists to have to do a lot of stuff that they aren't completely sure how they're doing it.
Oh.
Like, you know what? I'm not an audio technician.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And yet, here I am. I will be editing this.
Trying to get the best waveforms in front of your ears. And
exactly.
No one knows what they're doing. And maybe we should, speaking of people who don't know what they're doing... Maybe we should jump into some producers, huh?
Oh, taking the helm.
Oh,
I'm so proud of you, Abe.
Thank you. Let's do it.
Okay. Big thank you to the ghost of Dave Thomas. Woo! Exclamation points. Thank you to @NerdNumbers. Thank you very much. Thank you to Zero Charisma.
Woo!
Thank you to Aaron Burser.
Yeah.
Thank you to AJ.
Woo!
Thank you to Andrew Howe. Deck the halls with blood.
Yeah.
Thank you to Asking Seven. Rest in peace, Michaela. You were the best of us.
What?
Thank you to Barry Two Math says ska never died and ska jokes are lazy Gen X nonsense. Pick it up.
What?
Thank you to Bob Grenville.
I'll take it from here. Thank you to Bootler Boodleson.
Thank
you to Brian, who Tom knows.
Thank you.
Thank you to Brockway, loves the meat Millie.
He does.
Thank
he
you,
does.
Chester's Prophet.
Thank you.
Thank you, Christopher Robert Sparts Esquire.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chiz Killy Tits.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cody Johnson's Time Machine Noise.
Always.
Thank you, Dan Hackroyd.
Thank you.
Thank you, Davey, the ghost of East Las Vegas, Francis.
Boom. Okay.
All right.
We are greased up.
I'm all greased.
We're gonna fuck this episode.
Oh. All right, I'll keep the sounds to a minimum, but it's like my thing. I make sounds, so we're greased up and making sounds.
Your thing is you make sounds.
Yeah, dude.
Are you just talking about like talking?
No,
like using your voice.
Well, I mean, like during the Hypecast producer stuff, like I was saying like ooh. It's because
that's fine. I approve that.
Okay, good, because it's highly erotic over here.
I think so.
It's hot and steamy.
This has and always has been an erotic show.
Yeah, I mean, my sweat is pooling, and it's a good pool. It's not a dirty pool.
We're a couple of drippy guys.
Drippy guys. All right, let's get into let's get even more drippy. So the first trailer.
You want an intro?
It's Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves. That just hit. We've seen some teasers for this for a while, and it looks like it's advertising that it's just straight up like a campaign, right? It's got Christopher Pine in it, and
it's got a little bit of mid 2000s vibes. In that, like, I don't know, maybe that's just because that other Dungeons and Dragons movie came out in like the early 2000s.
I think it was 2000. Yeah,
it's just like the look to me, but it is. I like the idea of it. This trailer kind of made me go, darn it, because there's a lot of talk about like what's going to be the next Marvel. I would argue that nothing will be the next Marvel if they just keep trying to be Marvel.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Well, yeah, kind of. The thing
I had a
yeah.
Oh, sorry.
No, I mean, you're absolutely pointing something out that I think is worthy of talking about, because you're talking about the snark. You're talking about the snark,
Yeah,
right?
I'm talking about the dialogue and also the fact that everything's a joke.
Yes.
And I would argue in Dungeons and Dragons that's often the case. But it's more of just like I had this conversation with someone recently about how like when something needed to be the next Star Wars, I think I had this on a podcast. I don't think it was with you. The next Star Wars was Harry Potter, which is nothing like Star Wars. The next Harry Potter was Marvel, which is nothing like Harry Potter. And the whole point is like when people have the Marvel fatigue and they're like, you know, what's next? It's got to be something that's not just trying to be like, you look at Star Wars, and then in that era there was like Flash Gordon and a bunch of shit that was trying to be Star Wars that faded out. And so in this trailer they're really being like, look, it's like Marvel, and it's like, be your own thing. Because I want decades of Dungeons and Dragons movies. I don't know about you.
No, I think you're right. I think that history doesn't work precisely how you name it, because like
Sure.
C.S. Lewis was, you know, Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe was also like very much a Harry Potter type thing. Obviously not the same. Obviously, in my opinion, not as good. But like it failed in the 2000s where Harry Potter was king. So there's something else that goes on in the human psychology of like, this is the thing.
Right, but then you look at like Percy Jackson and all the Sorcerer's Apprentice, where everything that came after Harry Potter was like,
feels
we're
derivative.
the next Harry Potter by being,
Exactly. And I do think you're right about the snark, because that's an affect of writing. It's not like a wider sweeping, like, what is this about? And I know new audiences, the snark still works on them because it's just us who have seen it for our whole lives. Like, it was a kernel of a concept with people like Han Solo and Indiana Jones and John McClane. Then in like the 2000s, it became something bigger with like Ryan Reynolds as like a conceit. That was his thing. He owned it for a while. And a few other stars tried it with different success. But then like Robert Downey Jr. came in and kind of perfected it in 2008. And everyone has been writing those characters in adventure movies since.
Yeah, people like to say that Joss Whedon was the problem, which I would argue a lot of the dialogue these days isn't directly trying to be Joss Whedon.
It's not.
But I know it got to a point like in Marvel where it feels like everybody's snarky, you know? And that's the thing, is like it starts feeling like movies, nobody's serious anymore or takes the movies seriously that they're in. And this has that, where it's like everybody like, whoa, my God, and like making snarky jokes as their lives are in danger.
Right.
And it's like, I don't know, what's wrong with a movie taking itself seriously? Like, let's go back to that for a little bit. Let's have a movie where the characters actually take the situation seriously.
Yeah.
There's always been a Han Solo, that's for sure.
Yeah. There'll always be Brendan Fraser's The Mummy. But
yes.
You know, let's take it a little bit more seriously. Let's not write the self-aware, making the joke that's in the head of the audience member, because that's the hack that they really kind of, you know, pointed out, is they're like, I'm going to take something that's silly about this movie and call it out. And that's going to allow in the brain of the audience to go, aha, I also thought that. And that's... It treats people like they're simpletons to me.
Exactly. It also, like, I remember working at Cracked and they started doing that. And I was like, hey... That's our thing.
That's our thing. Yeah, exactly.
Don't point out your plot holes. That's what we do.
That's what we do. Form. Yeah, don't do. You're the source text. We're the scrappy people grabbing the scraps. You know, like give us something at the table.
Yeah, but I would say it goes beyond that to me, which is like watching the combat in this. That also felt a little superhero-y.
That's interesting. The fight scenes with the knives and the such.
And you saw the Adam Project. I feel like I talked to you about this, where like the combat in that was like,
that was extremely tired. Yeah. I actually had, my reaction to the trailer was slightly different in that. I know what you mean. I thought the choreography actually had, like, they showed a really good bit, but I could see how it's like, oh, it's just going to be like, we're going to get multiple scenes where it's just going to be like, oh, they're doing ninja shit.
It does look better, I will say that, than a Marvel film.
There was a few moves that I was like, that's actually like a clever thing. Someone who choreographed this, like, was trying to think of new ways to choreograph stuff. But it's all a part of a culture that essentially is like, and they're super fast and there's sword, which is fine, and maybe that's what people are into.
Right. I do want to make something clear, by the way, is I want this to be good and I'm rooting for it. And I hope that this is just the trailer doing this. That's all.
I think that's a little bit true. It's indicative and it shows that there will be some tired old tropes, but that's to be expected at this point. On the positive side, like you're saying, I do think that this does appear to be a movie made by people, by the right people. At least in my minimal D&D experience, there's probably people who are a part of the D&D culture and tabletop culture at large who can think of way better alternatives. But this is a blockbuster. I've seen Vox Machina, which is like Critical Role, which is like the blockbuster D&D, from what I understand. And they have a show on Amazon. And oh, yeah, that's still full of snark, of course, because it's little baby steps. But what this seems to do more than anything is and it was clear in all the trailers and teasers we've seen before, is it Rolodexes jokes. And that's what I like to see. Because we see things like a Mimic Chest, a Beholder, and we know like our villain is like, it's like a self-contained campaign, it seems. We got one villain. We have party classes that seem very clear. The fights, like you said, there's some good stuff, but it's not necessary. I don't know. The fights seem fine to me, just given the climate where we are with fights. But there seems to be like puzzles in it, so it all seems to have like the DNA of a D&D campaign, and that's a great sign. Because when you Rolodex shit like that, now you're actually like, I'm not just talking about like, oh yeah, we mention a Beholder or there's a Mimic Chest, so remember it's D&D. But you do it enough and you get something like an Iron Man 3 where it's like, let's have fun with the suits. I really feel like they're having fun with the suits here, Yeah,
by the way, this is from the directors at least and writers of Game Night and the Vacation remake. And for the record, I don't know if you saw the Vacation remake. It's better than it looked.
Really?
I will say that.
I did not see it.
It was funny. It didn't just, the thing about the Vacation remake, for better or worse, it didn't just do all the same jokes.
Okay.
If that makes sense. It wasn't just like, remember the original Vacation? It was all like new shit, and there was some funny shit in there.
Okay.
And having this made by people with comedic sensibilities, honestly, that's probably the right choice, right? Because the thing about, if they had done like, no, this is a serious Dungeons
like
and Dragons.
2000 did that, like the Dungeons and Dragons with Damon Wayans and Jeremy
that wasn't
Irons.
that serious, but I know what you're saying.
It had foils and a lot of comedic characters, but they really, I mean, I don't know. I guess it's treating this equally. Like when we cut to the villain, they're still like, like taking everything seriously. It's got like Guardians of the Galaxy vibes, right?
Yeah.
Everyone's kind of having fun, but then you cut to Lee Pace, who's like Ronan the Conqueror or whatever, and he's like, I don't understand why you're dancing in front of me. I'm sure they're going to have a beat like that. It's not the greatest.
You know what they should have done?
What?
And I know this is almost kind of a tired idea, but they should have fucking Shazam/Jumanji'd it. And what I mean by that is this should actually be bookended by kids playing D&D. And the decisions of the actors should reflect the kids' personalities. A Princess Bride, if you will.
Yeah.
Like, they should have done that. And more movies, like Princess Bride, like more movies should do that, right? Where it's like, they used to do that more and they don't. If there was ever something that deserved that, it'd be this. And I don't know, maybe they will and they don't show it.
They're just hiding it right now, yeah.
Yeah, but that's to me is why, like, if anything has a right to be funny and like self-aware, it actually is Dungeons and Dragons, because it's a
fan-made thing.
Yeah.
So it's the OG fanfic, like when you think about it.
Yeah.
I know there's people who are professional Dungeons and Dragons players. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying where it came from.
Right, and of course, even professional Dungeons and Dragons players have fun. It's fun. That's the whole point.
The whole point.
It's a game.
So I think that, take my criticism with a grain of salt. I am looking forward to it because this is the kind of shit that's right up my alley. I hope it has memorable moments. That's really what it comes down to, is I hope that I remember the stuff that I see because it's interesting and new. We'll see. It definitely...
I hope it's good.
Definitely feels like it could have it, and it definitely feels like it could just be really boring and be like,
Yeah.
I don't know, 2005 Stealth.
Right, exactly. Or Dungeons and Dragons, the early 2000s
Or the
one.
2000 Dungeons and Dragons, a much better reference that Abe could have made. and he did. I'm changing
Yeah.
history. Edit that part out.
No,
I'm host
I don't edit.
now.
I don't edit anything.
Damn. Oh, well, let's move on to the second one.
Yep, this is the next big trailer everybody's talking about. People are going to notice a pattern, which is the fact that we are now done with the big trailers. And now we're on to iMordecai. This is, everybody's lining up. Opening night, it's going to be like Star Wars for iMordecai.
Hell yeah.
This is Judd Hirsch, and he plays an old Judd Hirsch type. According to the synopsis, he plays a Holocaust survivor who is, out of his element, he's an old man. He is a Judd Hirsch type.
He's a
and
Judd
they give
Hirsch
him
type, yeah.
they give him an iPhone, and the iPhone changes his life.
Yeah.
Which this doesn't look half bad. It's got fucking Sean Austin in it. It looks fine, but like did you see Mr. Harrigan's phone?
Yes, I did.
Did Apple do something? Because like Mr.
Yeah.
Harrigan's phone has a moment where he's like, using an iPhone is easy. You just do this and that, and it was like, oh, so it's an iPhone commercial now. This is the same thing.
It's
and
because
like
Apple had seen the highest they plateaued, right? They hit
That's
the
what I think.
highest heights, and they were like, "What do we do now?" And it's starting to dip, and they're a little terrified, so they're just dumping. They're dumping money into the zeitgeist so that people just think Apple is synonymous with phone.
it really feels that way, where they're like
Yeah.
paying to be like, can you make a movie around our phone?
Right.
And they're like, sure.
I think it's kind of worked. I mean, honestly, like when you think of text messaging in movies, do you not think of Apple's like,
oh yeah,
like colors and fonts and stuff?
it's just weird that it's like
they did it.
Yeah, what's more likely is that people are just writing iPhones into things, and Apple's like sitting back and being like, okay. It's just a weird pattern, because this feels like a movie funded by Apple,
Right.
Which is like an iPhone changes a man's life.
The other thing is that when a lot of people are coming up, creative types, in the design sector, in the filmmaking, painting, all that stuff, there was an era of 2000 to about 2015 that Apple products were just superior. I'm sure people could argue, no, I mean, there was other good stuff. Yeah, shut the hell up. For most prosumer to professional level, like Final Cut was the thing.
There used to be
Illustrator and Photoshop, all the Adobe programs just ran better on Apple products. And it was just like, so all these people are now making movies. They think they all are in the cult of Mac, so that's one of the things that I just want to mention. Is I think there's a reason for that. That's probably not as sinister as like Apple gave us all the money.
Yeah,
it could be.
It does feel a little cult of Mac, which is funny because now I would argue is a real rags to riches back to rags with this. Obviously, Apple's doing fine, but if you're a professional and you're an editor or do sound, you probably hit a point where you're like, why am I paying $4,000 for a computer that can do what a $1,200
Computer
PC can do?
Yeah.
Final Cut Pro is bad now. They really fucked up.
They really fucked up, but like to each their own. Some people are just attached to the way it works in the OS itself. I don't know why we're talking about this other than the fact that iPhone is...
I think a lot of people in Hollywood have it.
Exactly.
Where it's like, they're going to buy a $5,000 Mac because they don't realize, because they're also wealthy and they don't care, and it's a status symbol.
Exactly. Yeah, that's
and
right.
so like this feels like a little like a little oblivious, but also I do like this movie. Like, it's just a fun
It looks
comedy.
like
it's got Judd Hirsch and
feel-good
Sean
movie.
Austin.
I'm gonna probably watch it because I like old people and I like feel-good vibes. And it's probably gonna end with him, making everyone feel great about themselves. And I'm like, I mean, there's a time and a place where I'm ready for that movie. Old People is always a great joke bucket. I really like the button joke. He tells Siri that they have to keep their relationship a secret because his wife gets jealous. And what I love is the wife's performance, because she overhears and completely seriously gasps. Like, I hope they have a plot where she thinks he's cheating with a woman named Siri
With
the
Siri.
whole movie.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
I
it's
hope
stuff like that.
I hope
Good
it just
jokes.
ends with a murder-suicide,
Yeah, exactly.
Mysterio.
Exactly. I'm Mordecai, baby.
Yeah. No, this there's nothing at stake here.
No.
I'm just like, yeah, this is great. I love Judd Hirsch. We'll talk about him in a little bit because he got a nomination.
Oh, yeah, the Fablemans.
Yep. But yeah, I have nothing
story
else to say
people.
about this.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about the Big Door Prize.
Okay,
then.
I want to talk about this one, actually.
Yeah, this is from, I think it's from the Ted Lassos.
Really? That doesn't make it better.
No, this trailer doesn't say much.
Right.
But this feels, I'm getting the Box vibes. Where
Right.
I'm like, and what I mean is the movie The Box, but also the concept of a mystery box.
Mystery box, yeah. That's
This is-
I can't stop talking about mystery box. I still think it's the worst thing. And I like differentiating what makes like a mystery different from a mystery box. So this trailer, which is a teaser really, we don't know what this is. Because it's just footage of a machine, and the kind of description that we get in the YouTube description is a mysterious machine shakes up a small town with its life-changing predictions. So basically there's a machine that will spit out a card that tells you your life's potential, which people at first probably are going to feel it's great because they feel that they can accomplish something. My guess is that this turns them wrong, or people get shitty potentials, or something goes wrong with the machine. Some
it's hard to
conflict,
tell
right?
where it's called.
We don't know.
Morpho, the machine.
Yeah. But a thing for me about high concept sci-fi, or concepts that introduce like a life-changing technology in a way that society will change, like a life-changing event or something like that. So most sci-fi, it needs to nail something for me. And like the first thing that it needs to nail is, what are you trying to dissect about the human condition? Like what aspect of us needs to be examined?
Right. What are you actually saying? Have you
Right.
thought about it? Or
are
is this
we-
just an idea you thought
Right.
of where you're like, that would be cool, right?
Do we need to be reminded of what are we wrong about stuff? Like, ask these questions. And human potential seems very vague at this point, and I understand, we haven't really seen a trailer. I'm just worried it's like you said, a mystery box where it's like, check this machine out, that's fucked, right? So
Yeah, and
that's what worries me about these kind of stories, is that we're getting addicted to it's a machine. What's the machine all about?
And they make so many of these, and they tend to get canceled pretty quickly. And I don't know. So I'm 1-1 with my ability to know when a mystery box is bullshit. Maybe I've had more predictions, but like, I always think about that first fucking season of Westworld. I wrote a cracked article about how it didn't make sense, and everybody was like mad at me. And even people I knew was like, "No, it's great." And then
So you're
look
self-satisfied
what
with
fucking
that
happened.
energy.
Guess who was right about Westworld?
And now-
I'm telling people, like, I feel the same thing about Severance. I'm telling you now. I think people are going to be like, "Hey, whatever happened to Severance? That
Dave's
went off
picks.
the rails."
Yeah.
And I'm going to watch this one. I'm going to let y'all know because this one is giving me that fucking vibe. But like, obviously, this is a 30-second teaser.
It's a 30-second
so-
teaser, and we're definitely overreacting. I am. But I just wanted to take it as a point of, I mentioned earlier I have other podcasts. One of the podcasts that I'm on right now is called Escape from the Multi-Curse, right? With Adam Ganzer and Michael Swaim. And some of the things that we talk about there is about obviously reaching your potential is like an evergreen topic, but I
Right.
hope at this point in multiverse stories and like parallel reality stories and such, the media that we've seen 1,000 times in the last 20 years or more, like that our news stories at least discuss potential deconstructions of our fascination with it, our addiction to like living our best timeline. I'm just really tired of the same story. A hero was not the best version of themselves, did a thing, and is now the best version of themselves. I understand that's like a very stereotypical hero arc, but thinking about when we talk about like the maximizing your potential, I feel like high concept stories, which like all sci-fi, needs to be a bit better than the fortune cookie wisdom of like a blockbuster. If they're trying to pass off as an indie or like they're gaining cachet through an opening with a story of we're going to tackle something big like life potential, I'm like, all right, everyone settle the fuck down.
Yeah, when it comes down to me is like the grudge I have, the reason it bothers me it comes down to the question to the writers: are you doing the work?
Right.
Are you going to introduce a mysterious island that people can't leave, or a mysterious theme park of robots,
right?
Or any of the Cloverfield bullshit? Are you going to do the work to make it make sense, or are you taking the easy way out and using the confusion of the sci-fi concept to not actually explain it and just be like, but it's you see how it's deep, right?
Right.
'Cause it's confusing. It's complex.
Confusing. It's complex. Yeah.
And even like, yeah, you take a movie like Everything Everywhere, where it's like they're playing it real fast and loose there, right?
Yeah.
But the strength there was that what they were saying, even if we like it's not entirely original, they did the work there. Like you have to see that they did the work somewhere in it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Either dissecting the sci-fi trope or figuring out what it means in like the terms of the characters and humans. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Let's show a story, but not necessarily hiding, like you said it best with, like, let's not hide behind the mystery of the thing. Let's not, because the thing I'm really worried about is that, like, with audiences, as smart as we can be, sometimes we are, kind of victim to our own diet. And if the diet is always like, well, the thing that you should be looking for is like, how is this machine? Like, what's this machine all about? Or what's the island all about? If that becomes our diet and that's the thing that we do all the time and we're looking for, we're no longer seeking what the point of the machine is. Like, what does it reveal about ourselves? We're looking at just for it's a puzzle, and at the end it was limbo. Turns out it was limbo.
That's such a good way to put it, is that like the mystery box is used as a crutch to make it so the writers don't have to actually have an observation about the world. That's great.
About humans.
Yeah, because for people who don't know, the mystery box was the term came from a TED Talk from J.J. Abrams. I'm sure people have heard this, about a mystery box that would be sold at a magic store when he was a kid, and you didn't know what was in the box. It was like $50 for every box, and you'd buy the box, and the contents would be different each time. It was a mystery box. The New York Times, I believe, tracked down the magic store, and what they learned is that was the magic store's way of packaging crap that they couldn't sell.
It's a genius idea to sell.
Yep, and that is such a perfect analogy, or a metaphor for it, which is like, that is what the mystery box is. It's for packaging shit that they can't sell otherwise. So they put it in a mystery, and then they're like, ooh, what's in it? And they dangle it for as long as possible.
Yeah.
And so that way they don't have to do the work to actually say anything meaningful.
Yep. So hopefully the TV show, I assume, the Big Door Prize.
Yeah, it's on Apple TV.
Will not be any of the things we just said.
Yeah, we're not really talking about this show.
We're not really talking about the show. It's just, it seems like a perfect opportunity when they are marketing Mystery Box Front. This is the time where we go, let's stop this and not watch it. Now I'm going to keep my eye on it because it could not be that. And I'm eager to the first trailer, but this is the moment where it starts. Is when they're starting to pitch it right now. They're doing the thing.
Yeah, the moment I shut one of these off is when they narratively say, they basically create a situation where they either do a reveal that you realize they like hid from you from the editing. That's one of them, like big red flags.
There's several tricks, yeah.
Another one is if they do the thing where they end a season where it's like, are they going to escape? We'll find out. And like, no, they're not.
Yeah.
Or like, is the thing going to happen? And it's like, no, it's season 1. And you're ending your season on that. That means that you have no interest in actually progressing your story.
Right. There we are.
Yep. Next trailer.
Hello Tomorrow.
Hello Tomorrow. With this is the Billy Crudups.
Crudup.
The crud dog.
Crud dog.
I think this is also a series.
This is also a series. It looks way too big to be a movie. Great visuals. I'm getting Fallout vibes.
I am.
Got cool effects, and it's setting up an ensemble of a town with a killer cast, which I love. And as per our previous conversation, which it sets up this kind of mystery about people are trying. Basically, it's following what it seems to be sales reps who are trying to get people to move to the moon. And then something's wrong with the moon, or something is bad about this. Right. So I hope it, as per our conversation we just have, talks about people's need to believe in something rather than what's so cool about the moon in this reality. Right?
Yeah.
That's how this could be a mystery box. It doesn't seem like it is, because the people are involved.
This actually seems like it's more focused.
Yeah, and everyone's talking about like there's something wrong with him, as opposed to there's something wrong with the moon.
The moon.
Like
what's on the moon?
If it's that there's aliens or something, I'll be a bit sad, right? Because you use that once, and it's a TV show, and TV is about characters. So, I think it's probably about. It seems like it's a way we eat ourselves alive in the hope of reaching happiness, which
I think so too. I do. I think it's going to be the idea that by using a retro futurist look, they're using like that the Fallout you said.
Yeah.
I think the idea is like this is going to be a analogy for like what we are today and
American
going
dream.
to Mars.
Yeah.
And all that. Yeah, I will say my only gripe is that I like the aesthetic, I'm also very sick of the aesthetic. Whenever you said it, you're like, yeah, it's Fallout. And it's like, yes, it is
and it's
Fallout.
got what's his name doing Fly Me, it's Sinatra doing like Fly Me to the Moon.
Yeah, and I'm starting to think this is because we see it, everybody knows what we're imagining, right?
Yeah.
Or what you don't have to see the trailer to know. It's the 50s futurism, it's Fallout.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if this is like a symptom of like Boomer Gen X, where like the same way like every war
decade.
movie is Vietnam or World War II.
Yeah.
Where it's like, why don't we do 90s futurism,
Yeah.
retro futurism?
Yeah,
Why doesn't this
dude.
look like Johnny Mnemonic?
We're the boomers
or Star Trek
now,
The
baby.
Next Generation.
We're
Yeah,
the boomers
exactly.
now. Give us those
And I
big
just-
suits.
Yeah, I just think it's time. And I said this in the notes. I'm going to try to write a retro futurism 90s movie at some point for this reason. Like, where's the world where they're looking at a wall of CRT TVs and that's the future?
Yeah.
Or they're wearing giant VR, or like, and the VR looks like 90s graphics. Like, if we're going to do retro futurism, let's stop doing this to death, because I am getting sick of it personally, and I think other people are. I think I'm speaking for.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Before The Matrix and TRL took everything from us.
Or fuck me, do 70s Logan's Run style futurism.
Yeah,
I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Do like the Illustrated Man. Like you can do other futurists, retro futurist futures. But for fuck's sake, stop doing the 60s.
We love
or
the
whatever.
atomic age shit.
Yeah.
We love the, October Sky shit. Everything's got to take place in the October Sky world. But what if it was like creepy? And
and it's just it's weirding me out that it's like, why don't we do any other era?
It really does
Any
seem
other
like
era.
one of the tropes that hasn't. Like, I'm already tired of, just because of like what my pop cultural nexus points are, like Fallout and stuff. Like we mentioned that. And things that video games that are derivative of Fallout, we haven't had like a Fallout TV show. So it feels very weird to me that I'm like already tired of the trope, and there hasn't been a ton of it. It's just
there hasn't been too much.
Too
there's
much,
enough.
but it's that I think that the buckets that they're pulling from 1950s shit, like we get that in Back to the Future and stuff. Like it's
right.
So all of the tropes themselves, not just the mismatch, but the things the elements that they're using themselves are already tired. In that boomer way, I totally know what you mean.
Yeah, and I don't even know if it's boomers doing it. It's just that they clearly have their grubby little paws in this retro futurism look.
I think that they taught us that that's what like the past is. It's very strange. I think it's learned behavior.
I think part of it, this is why I don't think it's necessarily boomers, is because I think when you say 90s futurism, people go, why the 90s? That was like 10 years ago. And you realize like, oh, fuck, I'm old. Like when you start facing that, the fact of doing other retrofuturism, you start realizing like,
Like when the 90s did the
you're old.
50s was 40 years. So like when the 2020s does 1980s, it's the same. Yeah, that's right. That's right. There's a lot of... The 50s is the most distance you can put about the cultures. like something in the 60s happened, basically, which is like the free love, drugs, a war, all that stuff. The 60s is the most interesting decade because it like really threw America off into a trajectory where now the 60s kind of felt like the 70s, kind of felt like the 80s. You see it, but it's like the 50s feels like an alien. It's like we did not come from that. That is not.
Yeah.
That is a monkey, sir. That is not a human. Like we feel like the evolution was not exactly doesn't feel out of place. But that's just because the distance of how those things look and the traditionalism of it. So I can see why they harken back to a 1950s look because it feels like this needs to feel really foreign.
Right.
But that's like what every single like time travel story does feels like.
Yeah, it's one of those things that always bum me out about like. They did a reboot of Star Trek, the original series, and then they made it look all modern. And I know why they did it, but it's like why don't you Alien Isolation that? Make it look like the old TV show. Fuck it. Or like this new Star Wars, where it's like no, make it look like it's the fucking 80s.
Yeah.
Like have fun with it. Like let's honor those eras in this visual way if we're gonna fucking make more movies.
Yeah, because we can do anything now. We don't have to be beholden.
Anything.
We don't have to be beholden to a certain look.
Yeah,
you're going to see a lot more of that. I think we're already seeing it.
Yeah, we'll get there.
Yeah, we will.
This next trailer is called. Man, I hate this title, and I'll explain why. Aliens abducted my parents, and now I feel kind of left out.
Oof.
Now, this isn't anything against the movie. And in fact, there are many good movies with titles like this. See, I'm a Cyborg, but that's okay. I hate titles that are this fucking quirky, though. Is it me? Is that just me?
It's not a good title. How do you like the song by REM? It's the end of the world as we know it, and I feel fine. Is that the same thing to you? Because
yes,
then I know exactly what you're talking about. And yeah.
It's passive language in a title.
Yeah, I don't love it. I'm
a Cyborg, but that's okay. I love that movie. It's the Park Chan-wook film,
right?
But it's too fucking quirky.
It's too quirky.
Just make a real title.
That's right.
Don't give me a sentence.
All the things that you're saying, I think that this is a fine young adult love story. I'm sure that will be a trend because there's only so many things you can do with language. I'm sure some writers out there going, no, it's infinite. You can do infinite things with the written world.
This is part of it's me. I will say that.
But I know it's the same thing. I have the issue with twee. I like 2000s twee. I'm like, fuck it. And it's, I get it. It's not a great title because it's reliant on this other thing that seems to be taking, like this other trope, this other mechanism that seems to be taking over the point of like, no, what's your story about? Oh, you're doing the long-winded kind of thing. Well, I've seen that, and I don't like most of that stuff, so I've attached to this now that I don't like your story. Some people may not have this. The trailer we're going to talk about next is actually another title conversation I want to have.
Oh, yeah, that one bothered me too.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about why for that, yeah.
But I don't know. This one, like, there's a few things I noticed in the trailer. One.
Yeah, for people who don't know, this is about, it's a quirky kid in high school, and you learn that he at least believes his parents were abducted by aliens, his parents being Will Forte, at least one of them. And as a kid, and so it's clearly like, is that real or is it trauma? Mm-hmm. And this girl who's like writing a paper on him clearly falls in love.
She's
with
a writer, right? Yeah. She's a writer for like the local like school journalism rag. Which is really funny because it's like that's like very classic romantic. Like
it's very tropey.
A baker and an architect kind of bullshit.
It's very tropey, but that it could be a lot of fun, frankly. Like it could do the,
It's going to do its self-aware thing, which seems to be very in vogue. I mean, did you see Wednesday?
No.
Yeah, she's she's constantly kind of narrating because she's a detective, so it's kind of like this Nancy Drew vibe, and so you kind of get these kind of downloads of like what's updated on the case. So it's got this self-awareness embedded into the format itself. She's gonna have times where she's gonna be writing the story in front of us while we watch scenes. She'll be narrating her stuff, which is like a thing. It's a that's fine. That's fine. I like that the idea is that the parents do come back, but the aliens are not real. So they both just ditched their kid 10 years ago because he sucked.
Yeah. You're like, you were too quirky for us.
Yeah, you were fucking quirk fest over here. Yeah. I also there's a post-effects blur. Did you notice that on this trailer, the top, bottoms, and sides of the image, there's like a blurry vignette, and I don't know why they did that. Watch it again, and I can't not see it now. It's like
that's weird.
There are shots where the framing of the camera was not anticipating what I think is a post. It's not a. I don't think this is an optical thing because there's like her eyes at one point is completely blurred. And I'm like, that's the part I'm looking at. Who the fuck did this?
That's very weird. I hope that's only for the trailer.
I hope it's just a trailer thing they did to make it look more dreamlike.
Yeah. I do want to stress this. This looks fine. There's nothing wrong with this. I feel like we're being negative for every trailer, and this this doesn't look bad or anything. It doesn't look like it's for us,
Right.
Like it's more for teens.
Right.
And I'm sure it'll be. It seems like an indie film.
Right.
I'm rooting for it.
Yeah. Kind of like what's the one that I didn't watch? The Fault in the Stars. Is that the cancer one?
I didn't watch that either.
Yeah. But this looks like a lighthearted version of it. Like replace cancer with my parents got abducted. Here's the thing. It's not that I dislike movies. I mean, I will say, like, here are the problems with the movies. Trailers are the worst. Trailers are definitely always the worst. Like, for example, in this trailer, they included a shot at the very end of them looking up at the sky in awe, and the wind is blowing their hair and clothes back, like, clearly aliens arrive. So at this point, you've now shown me a thing where you've created a binary system that might be a fake out. It might be a fake out. I guess you're right. It's just, it seems to me that they're revealing a little bit too much. Like, don't do that at all. Just if you cut that shot, now I don't even know.
That's why I think it's a fake out. Or the people who made the trailer made a bad decision. But I think they want us to think the aliens arrived. And I think that scene's going to be like a helicopter.
I have less faith in trailers, but I guess they succeeded in that. We're split. Part of the population believes one thing and the other believes the other. So here we go.
Yeah, I think that's what they want. They want, it? Are there trailers?
Is it?
And like, I don't know. I think that leaves it open, but maybe I'm overestimating them. Mm-hmm. I don't know.
Yep.
This next trailer, so this title.
Yeah, we just talking about
I have a problem with this title, and there's nothing wrong with the title itself. And I want to know if we agree on it. This is called She Came from the Woods. Mm-hmm. This takes place in 1987. It's a group of counselors who meet an old, like, evil witch, I assume, at a summer camp. It becomes like a bloodbath, which this is kind of my jam, to be honest. Like it's got William Sattler in there.
Starts off like a classic 80s fun summer camp vibe and then turns into a slasher film.
Do you have an issue with the title? What did you want to say about the title?
I mean, the movie seems fine, and it seems like it knows what it's going to come
from.
Like
a lot of fun.
I'm a little distressed by the Victorian woman. It seems like they gave us a few shots of the monster.
Oh, yeah.
They didn't give us too much, which I'm appreciative of. But I'm like, now that I know that it's just like, oh, it's a scary, like, dripping wet woman who looks like she just came out of a TV. I'm like, okay.
I'm okay with that. Well, I'm okay with that only because I think there's a lot of possession or something because there's so much slasher
and the kids seem to be like completely useless and like
the kids are possessed. I think
the kids are possessed and they're muted and like she's controlling them like a thrall. So that's kind of cool. So it's camp counselor versus the kids, but the kids are essentially under the control of a terrible demonic presence.
Yeah, and I think for that reason,
fine.
it's not a ghost movie as much as it is a slasher.
It's a slasher, yeah. It seems like a lot of shots of blood and stuff. So it seems fine.
It's also
it seems
a comedy.
like, yeah, and the fact that it came from a summer camp vibe, like it knows where it's coming from and it seems to be doing the thing. So that all seems good. The only thing that I had with the title is slightly different from what you did, which is not that there was a convention that they were employing. It's that the convention, that I don't like the convention itself. This is just more of, it's a convention I'm tired of. Like, she came from the woods. It came at night. It follows. Something in the dirt. She dies tomorrow. A thing came from the place. Something's happening now. You know, it's like...
Yeah, so...
Yeah.
Yeah, no, my issue with that is what do all those movies have in common? They're all very serious.
Right.
And this title also to me feels like an older horror movie title. Like, it came from the blank.
Yeah.
And so my issue is that this is clearly a 80s slasher throwback. Name it something like Camp Blood.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
name it like
Don't
name it like a and like that's my only issue is the name is not appropriate for the trailer I saw.
Right. Don't
but
name it
that's
from a sci-fi 60s, 70s, you know, like
or a
yeah.
modern elevated horror, and it's like I don't know that it's a very little nitpick to me.
Yeah, no,
this looks
that's right.
fun.
I'm just tired of the something got in, you know, like it's just you're doing a spooky little soundbite of like it's a horror movie.
It's a weird horror
It's
lately they
fine.
love sentences, and I'm like just fucking I get that we're running out of titles, but like I don't know, man.
Yeah.
Shit, what was I going to
Keep
say?
it simple.
Oh yeah,
Just call
I
it the
legit
thing.
laughed
Every
at the
movie
stoner joke in this. The pizza guy joke.
Yeah.
I legit laughed because they treat him like no one's like this.
Yeah,
the
man.
pizza guy rolls up and he's so high that he simply can't comprehend that they're all screaming that they're in
It
danger.
pisses
and he's
me
just
off
like,
because we did this.
pizza.
We did the same fucking joke with the stoner bit because we had a slasher horror movie
You
that
sure
we made
did.
in 2010 called Kill Me Now, and we had this actor Noah Byrne who's like just devastatingly funny, and he's that guy, and in this trailer the performance was so reminiscent of it. I was like, man, that character needs to be more like we wanted to do that character, and I wish we had a platform that movie did like a lot better so a lot more people saw it, because man was that guy good at that one particular role. It's really fun.
Oh yeah,
it's a funny idea.
it is a funny idea. Well, our final trailer.
Yes.
Again, really, like I this isn't a bad trailer week, but it is a lot of smaller trailers. This is the trailer for Swallowed, which I assume is about the Bush song. This is director of The Ruins. Did you ever see The Ruins?
I haven't seen The Ruins, but I know what you're talking about. Interesting. That was kind of touted, right? That was like people like that's good.
I think it was the director's only like big horror movie,
Right.
And I remember it being fine, but like they
Okay.
clearly went like I guess that probably didn't make enough money or something, that they've been doing more indie stuff.
Right.
This I actually really like the premise for this.
Me
And
too.
It takes a bit to get to it. It's about two friends who are on their like
Two
one of
lovers.
them's leaving. Oh, they could be lovers.
They
the
seem like
synopsis
lovers
says
to me.
two best friends. That's
Oh,
why
okay.
I'm like they do seem like lovers in the trailer, but I
do.
think
Maybe they're just best friends. Who knows? We're not here
I
to
don't know.
say what
again,
the
it really
relationship
does
is.
seem like they're lovers in the trailer.
Right.
So they're tight. And they one of them surprises the other by being a drug mule.
That's one.
He's like, I got a gift. He literally friends like, got a gift for you before you go.
Yeah, and I mean, it does seem like they weren't like, oh, like even that person is like, oh, I didn't think that like swallowing the drugs and being a drug mule in that way was a part of it. I just thought you were going to give him a package of drugs to take to California or wherever he's going. And it's like, either way, none of this seems like a good idea, because the woman who's in charge of the drugs is like immediately at 11 pulling out a gun.
Yeah, she
just
pulls
like,
out a gun like, you can't back out of this.
You can't
now."
back out of this.
So bad gift, bad going away gift is the point.
Right, yes.
And so they swallow these drugs, and then they go across the border, and one of them poops out the drug, and notices the balloon, there's just something squirming in it.
Yeah.
And then the other friend gets into a fight and gets hit in the stomach, and whatever's in it releases. So what you realize is this isn't a drug. This is like an alien.
It's like
Lord
alien
knows,
eggs.
but now it's inside this guy.
Yeah.
And that's great.
That's great.
I love it.
Body horror with bugs and stuff.
And
yeah.
I only saw The Ruins once, and I want to go back and watch it. But what I do recall is that was a body horror from a very unique perspective. It was plants.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, well, shit, this is probably really interesting.
Right. Yeah. I think, like you said, I'm sure this will have a little bit of problems justifying the wild premise in like what they're setting up as a grounded world, but it really does seem fun with the body horror stuff. Though the one thing I'm hesitant about, which always sucks because it's just like, it's not their fault, the filmmaker's fault. It's the situation we live in now, where I don't think we're going to get a full on like The Thing reveal of like it's going to be more of a conceptual horror because that's what these look like. The budget seems low.
I was about to say low budget is the problem. I watched a movie called Flashback, which is on streaming that I recommend. I did it on More Hype, and it's basically The Thing, but in a small, like I think northern Canada town. Like the idea is it's a horror movie in an area where the sun isn't setting, which I really liked. Mm-hmm. And while that movie has a lot of good things in it, they couldn't, without spoiling it, they couldn't bring it home.
Right.
If that makes sense, because they clearly didn't have the budget to. Which is that at the end of The Thing, shit gets out of control.
Right.
Yeah.
Most premises seem like they necessitate some kind of wild question that you have to ask yourself by the end of the Act 3. And if you don't deliver any of it, it seems like it'll be unsatisfactory. And that's true.
Yeah.
That's just a reality. And once again, I wouldn't put that at the door of the filmmakers because, hey, funding a movie's tough. But it is, it is something we do. It's an artifact of something that we get with indie now all the time, which is almost like the premise is pitched and they go, ooh, good premise. But you only get like $2 million or $5 million.
Yeah,
and it's like, oh, well, then we can't do like crazy robotics, prosthetics and stuff. So I guess we're it's in their mind or something like that,
It's a real shame because as a screenwriter, I realized that because like I got attention for the Kitten script, but then the only option I got was like, we can do it for $5 million. Mm-hmm. And it's like, that sounds like a lot. Don't get me wrong. I'm not getting that money. Also, I'm not getting that money, but $5 million sounds like a lot. And then you realize like it really isn't for the movie that they're trying to make.
Yeah. If you're making a big, gigantic cat,
yeah, exactly.
in
and it's
sets
like
that look like a house but miniaturized because your protagonist is miniaturized the whole movie. Like you're gonna need $20 million for that.
And even for that, they couldn't even get the financing for that. And ultimately, the option ran out.
Right.
And it's like, that's like a $20 million movie from an unknown. That would be me. Mm-hmm. And it's like, that's fucking. You realize you have to. The first scripts you put out there has to be like really fucking affordable,
right?
To get them made. Yeah.
That's why we're making one about people talking in rooms.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep. Unfortunately, that's the reality. All right.
Do you want to name some more producers?
Yeah, dude. I love naming producers. It's fucking lit, as they say.
Fuck, me too. Big thank you to David Knife Boot Henson. Woo. Thank you. Thank you to Deborah is awesome, Barbara is great, and Cancer can go to hell. Thank you. Thank you to Dracula, the bus driving vampire.
Oh.
Thank you to Driftless wrote Mabel's name in the Witch's Book of Blood. Thank you to E.T. the Extravagant Terresticle. Woo. Thank you to Evil Ed 209. Thank you to Exploding Runes. Thank you to Funky J. Mostly comes out at night. Mostly. Thank you to Glitterous, CFO of Michael Shen's Chocolate Factory.
No, I'm just making the Tim Allen. Thank you to Heathcliff's Helping Handfuls.
Thank you.
Thank you to Ombre. Ombre says, Mabel, step on me.
Thank you.
Thank you to James Cameron's Prolapse Locomotive.
Thank you.
Thank you to Look Ma, I'm on a podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mackenzie Fuck Shuffling with Willem Dafoe's confusingly large dick chill.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mercurial Oz.
Thanks.
Thank you, Mike the Lurker.
Thank you.
Thank you, No One Can Hear You Scream in Space McNulty.
Thank you.
And thank you, Norm from Cheers.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So the only news that I wrote down here is that the Oscar nominations happened.
Right.
So we might as well just take a peek. And most notably,
pull them up.
if you have, a lot of, as they've already pointed out, there's not many women or specifically, there's obviously in actresses. It's more of just that a lot of the snubs are like black directors, black movies. Till, Nope. I would argue Nope. It's a horror movie. Of course, it'll get snubbed. Till is weird. I didn't even see Till, but so just to start with Best Picture, if it's got Avatar 2 on the list, it can have Till. Like, I don't know. Like, if you're sticking, like, I saw people being like, Till's not on it because it's not a good enough movie. And it's like, Avatar: The Way of Water. I'm sorry. That movie's fun, but it's not groundbreaking. It just isn't.
It just isn't. They just they need to know. It's James Cameron.
Yeah.
Nominees
so it's like
for Best Picture.
Yeah.
Are
so Best Picture. Oh, you can do it.
I want to list them quick, just because then I'll kind of set my brain straight. All Quiet on the Western Front. Got it. Avatar: Way of Water. Banshees of Inisherin. Elvis. Everything Everywhere All at Once. The Fabelmans. Tar. Top Gun. Maverick. Triangle of Sadness. Women Talking.
Triangle of Sadness was the biggest surprise for me. So our network, we've covered almost all of these movies. I'm going to cover Tar before this happens. I'm hoping to cover one more.
Is it called? Is it Tar? Is it pronounced Tar? I don't even know.
I don't know. That's how I'm going to say it.
The
Oscars are meaningless, but this is one of the first years where not only have I seen a lot of them, but I'm struggling to pick what should win. Like
they're all,
I mean, what do you think? Because obviously,
you're not
the tradition. Okay, the tradition always goes that the movies that actually last the longest don't actually win Best Picture most of the time, right?
Yeah.
And so for that reason, as much as people want it to, I'm guessing Everything Everywhere will not win. I would love it to win, but I'm guessing the ones about like class struggle or like what it's like to be a hopeless millennial aren't going to
win. Yeah.
hit a nerve with the Oscars, which is mainly
I think
just
Banshees
white
has a
old
good
people.
chance of winning for Oscars.
I liked Fableman, but I swear to
All
fucking
Quiet
God.
on the Western Front also has a good chance, I think. Fableman's also a good chance. Those three to me are the front runners for Oscars.
The cynical version is I guess not La La Land because it didn't win Best Picture, but is that version which is the movie about making movies.
I think they've
of course
actually
the movie that
heard
sweeps.
that. I think they've actually heard that, and they love to snub the Berg. So I don't know.
I think it's going to go either way. It's going to either be enraging, or they will have seen Everything Everywhere All at Once. Have you noticed that? Nothing against boomers, but Everything Everywhere All at Once, I've noticed that every boomer age person, I've talked to a few who've seen it, have been like, oh yeah, it's really good. It opened up a lot of questions about, it's like so philosophical. That's neat. And then everybody our age is like, I was in tears. It really spoke to me and the nihilism of my generation. And so I think that that's what it is that like Everything Everywhere is a really cherished movie for people of our generation.
Yeah.
And I think the older and more likely to vote in the Oscars are going to look at it and be like, I don't know what the big deal is. That's my feeling.
Yeah, that's my feeling. I think that there is an application of like the Oscars then they can change it any time. That's why it makes this kind of a moot kind of argument. But like, because, they adapt and change and go, you know what, we're going to start not doing the thing that we're not going to give it to the Fablemans. We've heard that everyone has criticized the fact that we only pick stories. Okay, that can happen. So Oscars, I'm not saying they're incapable of change, but they do have a track record. And the track record to me says All Quiet on the Western Front, Banshees of Inisherin, or the Fablemans. But so that is me just rotely knowing what I know about movies, trying to apply a kind of logic to what the Oscars are.
I've been wrong in the past often. I don't feel like I'm good at predicting Oscars. I just want to shout that out.
I think I'm very good, actually. I've called it almost all the time, and I never watch it. I'm very up my own ass about this.
Yeah, actor in a leading role, So again, not going by performance, I can see Bill Nighy getting it, honestly, because it's, oh, let's give it to the old person. And like that happens
he's
way too often.
on his way out, dude. Yeah.
And I know people will be like, what about Brendan Fraser? What about Colin Farrell? And it's like, again, it's kind of a politics. Obviously, like I haven't seen The Whale, but it's like we know the ones that people want. But again, looking at this, I'm like, fuck, man. I don't know who I want. There's so many good performances.
The Oscars in the past have seemed to be not very. They don't make adjustments, and the voters in the Academy don't seem to make adjustments just based off the way that the voting works.
Right.
Around what's culturally relevant or what's in like the news cycle. I don't think the Brendan Fraser is such a fucking nice guy, thing, which I love. I love that he's a nice guy, and I haven't seen The Whale, but I'm loving that he's getting, after being so far from, Hollywood for so long, he's finally coming back with a new kind of zest for different projects, and it came out of doing stuff from TV. He was constantly working, but they just never gave him a shot. Aronofsky gave him a shot. Beautiful story. But I don't think that they're going to necessarily... They typically aren't adjusting for that. That's not something that the Oscars is well known for.
No,
Golden
and
Globes,
the Oscars
on the other
voting
hand,
system is we did an article about it way back in the day. It's a weird fucking voting system. It's one of those voting systems where like even if the majority voted for someone, that doesn't mean they get it.
It's the kind of voting system that gets Hitler elected.
Yes, it really is.
It's often the winner is most often because everyone is ploying for as quickly as possible. Everyone has a party. This is how it's worked since the 90s. Everyone has a party and says, like, please vote for us. And they give gift baskets, and, you can imagine all the kind of salacious things that are happening in these parties. I'm not saying it's, necessarily a conspiracy, but people are just wanting other people to have a great time around their movies, so they try to create a big bang for it, promotion-wise. And this typically gets people, kind of on the fence of one movie or another. And so you get the people that are voted as the second, the third, the fourth choice, often in the aggregate get more votes than the clear front runners. That's something that often happens, and what you typically get is very four quadrant, very the stories that are often, at least for Best Picture, the stories that are often very milquetoast, run of the mill, exactly what you're expecting. I'm not saying that the movies that I've listed or the movies that are listed or the movie that will win is necessarily that type of thing. It's just that that's what the past has yielded out. The voting system itself, to me, is indicative of... Well, indicative is not the right word. To me, it's anthemic exactly of, like, what the problem is. The problem is very clearly that there's no point to this. I understand that there are points in terms of the representation. Movies that win a lot of awards get a bump and they get more money, and that's great because it's a luxury. It's an industry after all, and people need to get paid and such. And something that we've noticed though, when you look at like Parasite, the several years ago, and since the movie that actually has won has been the movie that did the least well in terms of box office.
Right.
And
also it does help to have buzz. Like Parasite's a funny one because there was obviously like you realized after the fact, after it won, there were memes. People would do like liberal Hollywood people would do memes with Trump, and they'd put Trump in the role of the poor family.
Totally misunderstanding.
And you realize
everything.
like, oh, they loved that film, and also they misunderstood the film.
Right,
so you never know like why they like the thing, but that felt like them like, look, we're hip.
We're hip.
Like
we
Parasite.
Get it. You guys all like it. Yeah, we like it too. That's the thing, though, is like if the Oscars were just behind the scenes, just like what didn't do well at the box office, can we like bolster those up? Because then you get representation of a different kind. I'd actually be really on board with that being what the Oscars is. But what the Oscars is in terms of audience perception is what's the best. And I just think that that's a stupid thing. I may be up my own ass and I'm snob. I'm a snob because of this. But like honestly, what are we doing here? Is the Banshees of Inisherin better than fucking Everything Everywhere all at once? I enjoyed both so much. They're both great.
how can you even compare this shit?
How do you compare
That's a
this
big
shit?
part of it.
It's
Same
like-
with the
I don't know.
performances, and so like it is all. It's like it's just a game. It's a fun game.
It's a fun
I
game
think.
to play, I guess. But people
Yeah.
act like it matters, and it does matter in terms of money.
No, because
But
again, go back
legacy
and look
doesn't
at
matter.
previous Best Picture winners. You'll find
Right.
movies that you're like, I haven't even heard of that.
Yeah,
movie.
you don't. Legacy doesn't matter, and you know this, listener. You
Yeah.
know this doesn't matter because you
Everybody
can't
knows
name
this.
the best pictures from the different years. You don't care. After a few
But
years,
it's
you're not
still
going to
fun.
care about
Same
this.
with-
Yeah,
Yeah, same with for that reason. But like, it's never what I think, and so I don't know. I want to give official predictions.
yeah. Hit me.
Actor in a leading role. I think Bill Nighy is my cynical one. Where nothing
I
against
love
Bill
that.
Nighy,
I love
but
that.
in a year of powerhouses, it's always like this guy for a movie no one saw. You know, but I hope it's Brendan Fraser or fucking Colin Farrell.
I think it's going to be Colin Farrell. That's my vote.
That would be great. Actor. In
I mean, not like
supporting
my
role,
vote, but I think that's who's going to win.
Actor in a supporting role. I'm fucking torn. Judd Hirsch shows up for 5 minutes.
He's
to
gonna win.
Fabelmans and kills it.
He's going to
And
win.
yeah, I think so too. I think he's going to get the old guy
He
vote.
could win, but I think Judge Hirsch is going to win because I think you're actually going to get a snub overall for the Fablemans, and they're going to throw him a supporting role. That's
yeah,
my thought.
I also think it's the They're Gonna Die award.
Yep. I think you're
That
right.
said, Brendan Gleeson, fucking Barry Coogan, fucking
Yeah.
Ki Hoi Kwan, fuck. Where it's like,
He should
who do
win
I
it.
want to win?
If I I know
want
I
them to
just
call
said
them
that
all on
comparing him
stage.
isn't good, but like
Ki Hoi
he
Kwan,
really should
everybody's
win.
rooting for him for obvious
Yeah.
reasons, and we love him.
He just did a fantastic job. He was the heart of that movie, and that's a tough thing to rely on your shoulders, and especially, we know that Brendan Gleeson can do that shit.
Here's what I want Ki Hoi Kwan want for him more than an Oscar. I want him to
Just get
more
more
phone
roles.
calls.
Yeah, that's all. That's all.
That's all. I'm fine with like, okay, if he doesn't get it this year, nobody freak out. Just fucking cast him in more stuff and not fucking The Adventures of Short Round. I swear to Christ. Just cast him in shit, like real shit. I mean, or The Adventures of Short Round. I'll watch that too. But you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Barry Coogan, he'll be fine. He'll get it. He'll get an Oscar.
He'll get it.
Yeah. Actress in a leading role. I think probably Kate Blanchett.
I don't think so. I think Michelle Yeoh's got this one wrapped
I would
up.
fucking love Michelle Yeoh to get it.
She's got it wrapped up. I'm calling it.
Okay. Ana de Armas, I think she'll get one at some point. Michelle Williams got one, right?
I
don't
believe so. Supporting, I think.
And then Andrea
Education? I
Riseborough.
forget.
There's always these movies where you're like, who invited you to the party? Actress in a supporting role. Angela Bassett better fucking get it. Right? Did you see Black Panther?
Yeah. I don't know. They don't like superhero movies.
I know they don't, but if there was ever a time to do it,
Yeah.
I think she's incredible. I think everybody else on this list is
Remember
also
how
really
the voting
good, too.
works. Remember how the voting works. I think it's we're gonna be in a situation where I just don't think enough people are gonna vote for Black Panther for actor role. I think that
it's
gonna.
entirely
I think it's
possible.
probably gonna be the Whale or Banshees of Inisherin, Hong Chow,
That would be interesting.
or Carrie Condon.
Yeah. All right.
I think it's going to be the middle one that wins those because they're all very good, but the supporting roles are almost always like, it almost feels like it's throwing a bone to someone because
Yeah,
they're
it's
always
political.
the middle of the road political. It's like people
I
felt
think
strongly
that's-
about one, people felt strongly about another, and they're going to equal each other out.
Yeah, and I think I like best original screenplay is also like you could have been best picture, but we didn't want that.
Right.
Animated feature film. I think Pinocchio might get it. I think enough people saw it. It's always like a weird one. It's always like
it's gonna be
the
Marcel
weird,
Lachelle.
like
It's gonna be Marcel
Minions type
Lachelle.
movie.
I haven't seen.
You think it's Marcel?
I haven't seen Puss in Boots, and I've heard it's fantastic, which is a surprise to me. I haven't seen Sea Beast either, but I've seen Turning Red, and I've seen Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, and I've seen Marcel Lachelle with shoes on. Marcel Lachelle with shoes on is an underrated movie. It's really good. Go find a way to watch it. It's really really cute.
I'm not going to go through all of these, but cinematography, I can see All Quiet, even though I haven't seen All Quiet. If that has good cinematography, it's a war movie. It's kind of like,
I love
could
that
see
the movie
Elvis
that
getting
Roger
it.
Deakins is nominated for is Empire of Light.
I know. I think Elvis could get it. Empire of Light, I haven't seen, but
I don't think
know,
it's
man.
a big enough movie, which is interesting. I don't know
I
if they're
think
going to give it to
Elvis-
Deakins just because he hasn't gotten a lot of awards, but he's been nominated like as much as more than anyone in the world.
I think now that we're getting into like costume design, I think that's an Elvis. I think Elvis isn't going to get much, except it might get some technical.
It's going to get
That's
some
my
technical stuff. Yeah. What about directing? I think
now.
this one is
I-
the real interesting conversation because
I think it would be delightful for the Daniels to get it. 'Cause
The
I
Daniels-
just think that's funny,
I think the Daniels should get it. Honestly,
and I think they might. I really do.
I think they might.
Martin McDonough for Banshees would also be interesting, but I don't see that happening as much.
Well, here's the thing: is all the other films are very small concept films, which
Yeah.
means that they're all gonna carnivore the votes from each other about who they think did a better job. Everything Everywhere at Once is a bigger movie than Fabelmans or Banshees or Triangle
The
of
thing
Sadness.
the thing about Everything Everywhere is I think that style of filmmaking is very foreign to
It is
this people,
but it
And
resonates.
It's more like Adult Swim shit. It's very.
I think people
Yeah,
are
it
going to
is.
vote. I think people are going to give Everything Everywhere All at Once. I think it's going to get actress, and I think it's going to get directing.
Okay.
But I don't think it's
I-
going to get Best Picture.
The other question is, did the Fablemans work on them? Because if it did,
If it
I
did,
could see them giving it to
yeah.
Stevie.
I mean, Stevie has been snubbed, but he's
Yeah.
also won. But he's also getting old. you know, there's a lot of things to consider, and it's really I don't know what the age makeup of the people voting are.
Yeah. I'm going to scroll down to film editing, even though that bores people.
Everything Everywhere
And-
All at Once is wrapped
Yeah,
up.
I better, right?
Top Gun has the only one that is like, maybe, but I just think Everything Everywhere is
Same.
It's an editorial movie. It's just more pronounced.
International film, I'm going to say I don't care because none of them's RRR.
Well, do you know the story behind that for people who are
I assume
frustrated?
it's political.
No, well, so the way it works is that every country gets to submit one film for the feature international film.
Right.
Even like all of them just get one. India did not go
that's
for
what I thought.
RRR. They
That's
went
what
with
I
a different
mean
one.
because I think because RRR is literally political in India.
Oh, right. You mean within
Yeah.
Indian politics? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
But I
yeah.
was just like, this is not the Academy saying like they'd had nothing to say about the
Yeah.
movie just because it never crossed their desk.
Makeup and hairstyling, give it to the Batman. I don't know if they will.
Sure.
But
Give it to Wakanda
they
forever,
made Colin Farrell look like Robert De Niro. That's good.
Elvis is probably going to win.
Yeah, it always is the one you never
the
want it to
whale,
or never
though.
think.
I forget about the whale.
I don't know if the whale will, to be honest.
Because it's digital.
I don't know. Music, I don't know.
No.
Yeah.
John Williams.
original song, give it to RRR. I don't give a fuck about the other ones.
Okay. Yeah, give it to RRR.
I'm not saying they will. Best Picture, we sort of talked about it.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's either going to be... I think Everything Everywhere, it will be the We're Cool vote.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck, I don't know, man. Give it to Women Talking because no one saw it.
Yeah, right. That's what they should do. That's absolutely what they should do. But with complete certainty, and I'm never wrong, and you can write this down and date it and say, Abe, you were wrong, and I'm going to be like, nah, because I'm going to be right. It's either All Quiet on the Western Front, Banshees of Inisherin, or The Fabelmans.
Okay. Production design, Babylon, Elvis, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Avatar will get it because they won't fucking know what that even means.
What does it even mean?
Sound, give it to the Batman, I would say. It should get it. Top Gun Maverick might, too.
I think Top Gun Maverick's got that one.
Yeah. Visual effects. Now, this is a question for me, which is, do you give it to Avatar The Way of Water or do you give it to Top Gun Maverick? Because those are two very different things.
You're going to give
me.
it to Avatar The Way of Water.
They are, but they should give it to Top Gun Maverick, I think.
Yeah. Again, you're voting with your heart. You're not voting.
I know, but
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
Adapted screenplay.
Ooh, this one
Really-
actually is interesting because Women Talking is actually really interesting.
I need to see that. I'm very
From what I
curious
read,
about
I
it.
read an article about how she like really pulled out the story from it, and it's like, oh, that's kind of cool. Glass Onion also, Ryan Johnson did kind of a similar thing. It's very different.
I could see him
apparently.
getting it, but because everybody's into it.
I do not know about Living. I don't know
Yeah, no
why
one saw
Top
Living.
Gun is even in here. Like, what is an adapted screenplay at this point is a big question I have. Because that's been, for several years now, been kind of a lot of contention about, like, no, it's just adapted from other work or adapted from a novel. I don't know.
But the final one, writing a original screenplay, I can see Banshees getting it easily.
I
can see Banshees getting nothing else.
I think Banshees.
And then they're saying, "Here you go." Or I would love Triangle of Sadness to get something on this list. I'm scared that not enough people saw it.
Yeah,
and
I think Banshees.
Triangle of Sadness. Oh, sorry.
I think Banshees could win. I'm just thinking.
Yeah. I was gonna say, if Triangle wins anything, I don't think it should be. I love Triangle of Sadness. I don't think the screenplay was particularly the strongest aspect of it.
I don't think Triangle is going to win anything.
Neither do I, and that's a bummer. But
it's a solid movie. But
I can see Everything Everywhere or Triangle. I can see, or I
can see Everything Everywhere too.
And usually you'll know if it's going to win other awards based off if it won original screenplay. Usually, not always.
Well,
but if Everything Everywhere wins original screenplay, that means it probably won't win Best Picture.
I feel
probably
who wins does not affect each other, right? That's not how the voting works. But
yes, I find this is just going by weird patterns.
Right, I find that the pattern itself that you listen to is what's nominated, because what's nominated shows like what the best. It's the best kind of indication of what the group think of the people of the Academy is.
Right. What's the similarities?
You do see Everything Everywhere all at once a lot. You do see Banshees of Inisherin a lot. You see Elvis a lot. Top Gun. Those are unique. Those are all different, wildly different films. You don't see The Whale as much as I thought I was going to see. You know,
right?
I don't see Women Talking as much as I thought I was going to see. So I don't think they're going to win a lot.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's going to be a lot. Yeah, Everything Everywhere and Banshees, I think, are obviously the ones that they're in love with, and for good reason. Again, this is one of the times where I'm looking at all these and I'm like, man, most of these are really good. I like the only one that I'm like, is Avatar. Frankly, where I'm like, what are you? Visual effects, I get it. Production designs, I get it. Yeah. Best fucking picture? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I don't.
Are you fucking kidding me? I had fun with that movie. That's
if it wins, what that means is the next. Like, if it wins Best Picture, I think there's going to be a war that happens.
I think they're going to Return of the King.
Inside the Academy.
Yeah, like a world war,
yeah.
No, I think they're going to Return of the King it. I think they're going to do it to the last one or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe, but it's not the last one.
I know. That's why I'm saying, like, they'll probably skip this one.
I think they're putting it in so they can justify if they're crap, giving it to the last one.
Yeah.
But I don't think they're going to just give it to it, you know.
But
it's got two
not having sound design.
Yeah.
Like, there's still some snubs.
There's snubs.
And again, it's horror and it's non-white movies.
Mm-hmm.
And that is very noticeable this year. And it's more noticeable to me because Avatar's on there. Mm-hmm. And I know why Avatar's on there, but I'm just like, I don't know, man.
Oh, I think Babylon's going to win for original score.
Oh, yeah.
Or maybe Banshees. Babylon. Carter Burwell. He gets snubbed all the time.
All right. Are we done with Oscars?
Yes, please.
Yes, please. We're going to thank some more patrons. Big thank you to Pete Vorpagel. Thank you very much. Thank you to Pie Guy.
Oh.
Thank you to Numino, Ultramicroscopic, Silico, Volcanoconiosis, Anti-Disestablishmentarianism Jones. Thank you. Thank you to Pre-Order TikTok Superstar Jason Pargin's new book, Zoe is Too Drunk for This Dystopia. Pre-orders are super important.
Oh.
Thank you to RevMD. Thank you to Ricky Cilantro. Thank you to Rosemary's Baby from Eraserhead.
Yeah.
Thank you to Screaming Horses New Year's Baby. Thank you. Thank you to Snapper Car Punches God in the Dick. Thank you to Steven. Thank you, Steven.
Thank you to the conveniently placed self-destruct button on the top of every baby's head. Ooh. Thank you to the Midnight Patreon. What patrons at midnight?
Yeah.
Thank you, the Oatmeal Savage.
Thank you.
Thank you to these 7 Bs.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tiger Drawers, Pratt Thompson's Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head.
Beautiful.
Thank you to Tip a Drizzle.
Tip drizzle.
Thank you to Tubi Baby New Year says, watch Rutger Hauer's A Breed Apart. Hey,
okay.
Yeah, watch A Breed Apart. Thank you to Tux. Thank you to Vincent. And thank you, as always, to your mom.
Thank you.
Final chapter of this podcast is the movies that deserve more hype. Oh my God.
How you introduce it, Abe.
Dave, do you have any movies that deserve more hype, Dave?
Yes, I do. Abe, I have 2 movies that deserve more hype.
You have 2? All right, let's go.
One is from Sundance, one is from Slamdance. We'll start with the Slamdance one. I will warn you, neither of them have release dates yet. The first one's out of India. It's called The Underbug. It is dealing with politics that I don't fully understand. But it's about the fact that India it's India while there's constant riots on their eve of their Independence Day between 2 religious sides, I believe. Again,
right.
Sorry. I don't know exactly. No, it's like Hindu or Muslim groups, and during this riot, 2 rioters find an abandoned house. And it's a really fancy house, and clearly something fucked up has happened in the house, and it is haunted as shit. And the 2 rioters slowly work together to deal with this while the haunting fucks with their minds. I compared it to the TNG episode The Enemy, which is probably a really like a terrible comparison.
Right.
But again, this is how my brain works.
This is just
where Geordi is stuck on a planet with a Romulan. It's 2 opposing people who have to work together, and it's kind of about. It sounds like what a lot of the reviews are saying. Like, it's talking about the idea of, like, you know, pitting different people against each other while the upper classes get to enjoy.
Right.
You know, that the luxuries of that. Right. And so it's the idea of these 2 rioters who are against each other, or maybe not, they're not sure, in like a fancy house that they could never afford to live in.
Yeah,
that's haunted.
That seems to have its own kind of statement there. Well, don't feel too bad, Dave, because I didn't read anything about it. I just watched the trailer and then I read it. And my reaction was like, is this the Indian The Purge? So I was even farther from what seemingly is the topic of this movie. So don't feel too bad about that. I did like what I saw. I think it is a fairly good trailer. Like you see most of trailers from, international film and, smaller films. Films that don't typically have the we're not going to do that well anyway. Let's just,
Right.
So they don't do a lot of what I dislike about trailers in general. So this is a solid trailer. I think it's probably a pretty cool, kind of got spooky horror vibes. It's going to be, I think it could also be very close to like Enemy Mine or Hell on the Pacific or whatever. Just the idea of looking across the aisle, kind of idea.
Yeah. And the horror it looks decent. The horror looks good. The tone. It got my interest.
The tone more than anything, because it kind of feels like this tone of like when you're in a room that has no lighting because it was daytime, but it's suddenly becoming sunset. And the lights still haven't turned on, and you're starting to get tired because your stupid monkey brain is saying like, "Oh, it's getting the sun's getting low," and it's like, but there's still a little ambient bounce going on. Like it has this a vibe that's almost sleepy, and it kind of is scary in that way because you kind of lulled to this kind of sense of philosophical discussion between these 2 men, but you feel at any time anyone could reach for each other's throat.
Yeah. It looks good. And there's in the reviews they're talking about it's ambiguous if there even is 2 people here. Mm-hmm. Like it starts getting really psychological.
That might be interesting.
Sounds fun.
Cool.
Second movie.
Hype.
This is the Sundance one.
Hype.
This is called Divinity.
Big fan.
This is produced by Steven Soderbergh.
Yes.
It stars Stephen Dorff and Scott Bakula, amongst others. And this movie looks fucking weird.
Yes.
And in fact, one of the reviews says Divinity is fucking weird. It's about a man who, it's a weird otherworldly, it's a future, but it might not be our reality. It's a heightened reality futurist location where a guy whose father made a serum that I believe stops aging, and now it is the son who still has he controls and manufactures the serum on this barren planet. And it's apparently everybody's doing the serum now, and they two people show up to abduct this person. And what I'm saying here doesn't sound particularly exciting.
No,
this is a real. You have to see it.
Just watch the fucking trailer because then you'll know what it is. It's this experimental, black and white 16 millimeter, but it looks awesome, and that's all.
Yeah.
If you've seen
the ending fight is stop motion.
You've seen the American Astronaut. It looks a lot like the American Astronaut. The special effects look fucking awesome.
Yeah, it's got weird kind of video game graphics, but not the kind that you're. Almost fucking Game Boy graphics.
Yeah, claymation fights at one point.
Yeah, there's claymation fights. The makeup effects. Apparently, Stephen Dorff is pretty much covered in weird makeup. I think he mutates during this.
Yeah, it's like Elephant Man looking motherfucker. It's unhinged in a way I'm really, really intrigued by. I'm definitely going to watch this
it's
just for the aesthetics.
Cronenberg meets Tim Burton almost.
Yeah. It kind of feels like Mad God, too, a little bit. But it is live action.
Yeah, Divinity trailer. Just punch that in because that will do more than my words could ever do here.
But I love highly imaginative shots right now. You don't see a lot of them, you know?
Yeah.
You don't see that.
What I like about this is it doesn't feel derivative, even though it uses a lot. When you watch something movies that I like, but fucking Kung Fury or something like that, where it feels like it's just kind of pulling from what's in the zeitgeist. Whereas this, the look of it, it feels I haven't really seen that. Even though you're using elements like video game graphics, stop motion, things that we love to do for throwbacks, it just looks so unique. And it just looks and again, it's futurist, retro, but not the kind that you sort of imagine. It actually looks more like 70s futurist retro. And so it's a good actually response to the what I was whining about earlier. So yeah, I don't know what else to say about it other than it looks fucking great.
Looks great to me. It seems like it'll have something for a little something for everybody if you're kind of unhinged like we are.
Yeah, and one of the last things is the reviews say it's not as abstract as you think. It's weird, but it's not it's not confusing. And in fact, one of the only faults I saw was that it over-explains. I saw
little into the lore. I'm reading that. It says, though it has a more linear narrative than your typical experimental film, it's black and white 16 millimeter. Assault to the senses is bound to divide viewers. Love it. Love every part of that sentence.
Yeah. So check it out.
Check it out. That's end of hype.
End of hype.
Hype concluded.
Thank you so much for this.
Hey, dude,
for being here. Do you wanna do another plug?
Yeah, dude. You heard me talk about it before. Small Beans is the place where I live. Other than Dave's dumpster, because I love to live right in there too. But
you mean my butt, right? You're talking about my ass.
Your dumper, dude. No, Patreon.com/smallbeans. We got a few exclusive things we can offer, like I mentioned on this podcast, Escape from the Multicurse. Also, podcasts that you recognize from this Gamefully Unemployed space, things like Spiel Boys and things like the Star Trek The Next Futurama. These are things that if you're only subscribing to Gamefully Unemployed's channel, you're getting half of the episodes. The other half, you need to come over to the Small Beans. So make sure you do so. And also, while you're there, check out our movie diaries. We're making a movie, and you may be something you're into. It's called Papa Bear, and we're making it this year transparently in front of everyone in our Patreons, just to say, hey, this is what making a movie is like. It's kind of a cool little experiment, and the movie's great, and I'm really looking forward to making it this year. Anyway, that's the end of my shit.
That's your shit. Yep. Listen, we have a Patreon. Patreon.com/Gamefully Unemployed. That's where you get the other Star Trek Next Futuramas and Spiel Boys. We also have exclusive podcasts on there like Tom and Jeff Watch Batman and Fox Mulder is a Maniac. That's Gamefully Unemployed on Patreon. We have a store. If you go to gamefullyunemployed.com, you can get access to that and look at our merch. We got an exciting month. Tom's out for a little while, but we're going to cover some unconventional shit. So be prepared. Some of our We Just Watched this month are not going to be about movies you think. That's all. It's kind of exciting. I'm looking forward to seeing the movies that I'm going to be seeing, and that's it. So I don't know.
Did I do good? Am I a good guest?
Did, yes.
Can I host?
Abe did good.
Can I host next time?
Yes. You got the job,
good?
kid. You got the job.
Happy. Abe happy.
Abe happy.
Thank you so much for having me on, and I look forward to the next hype, the meeting of the hypes.
Our music is produced by Chris Corlew. You can follow him on Twitter at @thecorlew, Corlew, and find more music at shipwreckedsailor.bandcamp.com. Our artwork is produced by Justin Brown. You can follow him on Twitter at @JustinTBrown, and find more of his artwork at artnessbyjustinbrown.com and justinbrown.info.